everyone. Happy Wednesday. First show of November. My goodness, this year has flown by. We only have a few more shows this year. How is everyone doing? Say hi in the chat and let us know where you're from. For those of you that are new, my name is Dorothy, and I have the privilege of being your host every week. I bring you the most amazing doctors and practitioners that are changing the world so you can change your world. Because here's the thing, all you need is one idea to shift your perspective to change the trajectory of your life forever. That's why these shows are so valuable. Each presenter brings you new ideas that can change your life. So I commend you for showing up here week after week, expanding your knowledge and seeking more wisdom and understanding. All right, people are logging in. This is awesome. Come on in, guys. Today's guest exemplifies this in her life beautifully. Fabiola Reyes-Kimball struggled with migraines and headaches for years. She depended on painkillers just so she could lead a somewhat functional life. She got introduced to nutrition response testing, a type of muscle testing. And after going on a protocol designed with those results, she suddenly realized she hadn't had a migraine in months. She decided to become a practitioner herself to change the lives of others like hers was changed. She's been in the trenches, she understands you, and has made it her mission to make a difference in the lives of as many people as she can. Welcome to the show, Fabiola.
Well, thank you so much, Dorothy. I'm very honored and I'm super happy to be here with everyone sharing my story and hopefully give everyone some information they can take away so they can find the root cause for headaches and migraines, which, no one really likes to have any of those.
No doubt. All right, before we get started talking about root causes of migraines, I just want to let everyone know how you can connect with Fabiola. Monica put some links in the chat there, so thanks for doing that, Monica. You can connect with her at nutritionalwellnesscenter.com. I said that right?
Yes.
Okay. Her Instagram handle is Root Cause Solutions for You with an underscore in between each word. Mm-hmm. She also has a podcast with the same name, Root Cause Solutions for You. And she's interviewed some pretty cool people on there, so I would check it out. So put your questions for Fabiola in the Q&A. And you know what? We're going to get started. Migraines, headaches.
Yay.
It can be
awesome.
So debilitating. I'm so glad you're here to bring some hope.
Well, thank you. Yeah, they really can. I mean, just like you mentioned, I lived with migraines and headaches for years. I would say probably 20 years. And
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, I was born and grew up in Mexico City. So, beautiful city and beautiful country, but unfortunately not the cleanest air and a lot of pollution. And yeah, so just very impacted by different chemicals and things. And unbeknownst to me, actually mold, that was a huge trigger for me, which I had no idea that I was mold toxic until I discovered Cellcore. And I was like, oh, maybe there's something to this. But I think my longest migraine was 7 days.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, where I would wake up, take painkillers, go to work and take painkillers throughout the day. And really just that was my whole week, and go to bed. And on my way home, I remember stopping by a coffee store that was open and late at night because I had sometimes late shifts. And I will buy a red eye with more espresso, and then I will take more painkillers just so that I could go to bed to then wake up with even a worse headache the next day. So discovering what truly, and I was bounced from specialist to specialist. I saw countless chiropractors and doctors and MRIs and EKGs. I mean, you name it. And no one truly had answers for me, to the point where I thought, I'm just going to live with it, and I know how painkillers could affect liver function, but it was a trade-off for me, being in pain.
Function. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I had to go to work and, I had to go on. So a friend of mine introduced me to, nutrition response testing, a form of applied kinesiology. And I was like, well, whatever, what do I have to lose, right? Another practitioner who it may help me a little bit or not. And for me specifically, it was heavy metals. What was my huge trigger. And and then dietary changes, right? Because I was like, there's no way diet has anything to do with this. And I'm like, no, my donuts and sugar definitely don't impact my headaches. But then cleaning up my diet, as well as safely doing a heavy metal protocol, it was a game changer, to the point where one day I was like, wait, I don't have a migraine today. I don't have a headache. And that's what led me to be on my path as a practitioner, because there's definitely a lot of people who struggle with migraines and headaches. And like you said, you have to go on. So yeah.
I love that. That is awesome. All right, let's go. Let's dive in.
Awesome. So I'm going to share my screen now. Let me X that up here. Sorry, I'm not very Zoom literate, so
That's okay.
let's see. Okay, perfect. All right, so let me see if I can make this bigger. Oops. I don't know if everyone can see that.
I can see it. It's not in
see.
presentation mode, but I mean, we can see it.
Oh, how about that?
There we go. Perfect.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. So yes, there's many different reasons a person may experience headaches or migraines. And I just want to become an expert at root causes. That's why I decided to brand myself as Root Cause Solutions for You, because everyone's situation is very unique to what they're experiencing. So I hope that this gives you some information as to what could be your root cause. So just a little disclaimer, we're not giving any medical advice. This is just for educational purposes, so if you have any questions, please feel free to put them on the chat or on the Facebook group once this presentation has been uploaded. And a little bit of my story, like I was saying, as far as my migraines and my headaches, and it became very evident to me that actually a lot of people don't know that they're suffering of migraines and headaches. To them, it's just normal. You have to go on with your day, with your life, kids, school, work, and no one, you are might be bounced from one practitioner to another. So that's why finding root causes for me became a passion. It is a passion of mine to really give people solutions, because I was there, bounced from one specialist to the other. So this is why I created this. So about 45 million people that we know of actually suffer of headaches and migraines. And that's a lot of people, if you think of it. And that's people who actually have gone to the doctor, who have said to the doctors, hey, I'm experiencing headaches, migraines, what can I do? And often you're left with, hey, just go and take this pain medication, not really understanding the impact of how that might impact your liver and other organs, right? Because obviously everything that we do to our bodies has an effect. So whether it's good or bad, we're still doing something to our bodies. But yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people, in about 39 million, of people suffer from migraine. So that's a lot of people, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of people to be helped out there. Let's see. So, first understanding what a headache is, right? I mean, it might manifest for some people differently. Not everyone is going to experience the same symptoms of a headache or a migraine, but sometimes you have like tension type headaches, right? So these are the most common ones, which is the headache amongst most adults and teens, and they're caused by mild to moderate pain, and they come and go. So they typically don't cause other symptoms like nausea or vomiting. And so sometimes that little pressure in your head that you may feel, you might be doing something, but something there bugging you. You shouldn't feel your head. You shouldn't feel your heart, right? Or your different organs. They should just be there doing whatever they need to be doing. But if you're aware of that section, then potentially there's some support that is needed to help that specific area. Or you may experience some cluster headaches, right? So this is the type of headache that is severe, and it is most, interestingly enough, most common in men. And my husband sometimes experiences a little bit of this, and often because I'm a practitioner who muscle tests, I often find that his heart is what needs support. So it's been incredible to see him, because he works out a lot and been experiencing a little bit of this cluster headaches. that by offering the right area of the body that is actually creating that symptom. Because to me, a headache and a migraine is a symptom of something going on. We've been able to get this migraines of his and headaches under control by offering some heart support. So that's been really interesting for me clinically. And sometimes they occur at the same time of the day. In his case, for example, after working out, when he's doing a lot of strength work. So it makes sense to me as to why his heart needed some extra support. And it could vary in time, right? Sometimes it could be a short one. It could be also a longer period of time. And most of people are familiar with sinus headaches. So those are the headaches that are, sometimes maybe when you're sick, right? Or having some congestion, your body's cleaning stuff up and you might be a little more stuffed up than normal. And I used to have some of those where my sinuses would just be really, really tender. And to the point where I would think, oh, maybe there's something going on with my teeth. And so we'll freak out because I'm like, oh gosh, I don't want a cavity. Do I have a cavity, or is that root canal, knocking at the door? But it was often just that sinus inflammation that was happening, that my body's drainage pathways were not completely open, that everything was just really clustering here in my sinuses, causing that tension in my head. Let's see. Sometimes we experience rebound headaches, right? And that's something that I often see with people who take something for headaches, especially specifically painkillers or some sort of medication, and we become dependent of that. The body just becomes dependent of it. So then we get that rebound headache. And that used to happen to me. And that's what was so scary, because I was already dependent of the painkillers, and I wasn't sure what's creating my headaches. The medication that I'm taking is a rebound, or what's my root cause. So that was very interesting as well. Also, the exertional headaches, they occur after physical activity, like I was saying with my husband as well. Sexual activity, also may create there's a lot of going on during intercourse, your body, your heart, there's a lot of things happening. So people sometimes after that may get headaches, straining, with bowel movements, being constipated. You won't believe how many people experience, inadequate bowel movements. And sometimes you're in the bathroom, you're in the toilet, you're straining, you put in a lot of pressure. There's just a lot of inflammation that just happens. And then you could get a headache from that. And sometimes you also get other types of headaches, like infections, right? Or tumors. And that was what's so scary to me, because at the time when I was at my highest of headaches, my aunt had been diagnosed with a brain tumor. So again, everything was just like in my
that
mind.
would be scary for sure.
It really was. I was like, oh, and that's why I was like, give me all the MRIs that I need to, because I wanted to rule out any potential tumors. And that was way before I became a practitioner and became a cell core practitioner. Or sometimes high blood pressure. I have a client who experiences high blood pressure headaches, and those are unfortunately also very common. And again, another theme here is the heart. Why is the heart so stressed out? What's stressing the heart so much that there's just so much inflammation within the body, and then it reflects all the way to the head. And then just chronic inflammation. We know inflammation is the correct response of the body, but when it's chronic, then again, what do we need to uncover to let us know what's going on with the root cause that is creating this symptom of experiencing headaches and migraines. And then a migraine, I think that's a little more intense than a headache, but for most people, I think it develops first as a headache. You start noticing some discomfort, and then boom, you get your migraine. And for some people, it can last a long time, and it can be debilitating for many of us. And well, that's why you're here, to learn what could be, your reason. And the interesting thing with migraines is that they may come in phases. And again, not everybody is the same. Everybody will experience things differently. But one of the things that I definitely have come into understanding is the amount of inflammation from oils like canola oil, soybean oils, all these different things that are creating a lot of neuroinflammation. And I'll talk a little bit about it later on, but something that I learned is that actually the brain has no pain receptors. So you're like, so how do I get headaches then if my brain has no pain receptors? And it's actually the different membranes around the brain that are the ones that are experiencing inflammation, specifically the dora, which is your most outer membrane of your brain. So that's what you have, like it feels pulsating and it feels like if your head may explode if you're experiencing a migraine. It's because the dora is very unhappy, experiencing a lot of inflammation. But I found that very interesting that the brain has no pain receptors. And some people have that little aura, right, on their eyes. I have another client who behind her eyes, may experience some discomfort. I used to describe them as ice picks going through my temples. Ooh. And yes, which was very uncomfortable. And my husband would be like, what are you talking about? Like, I just feel like this, like literally someone's putting ice picks through my temples. And there was no other way of describing how much pain there was going on. But some people definitely behind the eyes and the nausea, right? And I was very also debilitated by light. And if you think of it, most of our, fluorescent lights, which are unfortunately very common in places of work, they have mercury in them as well. So then you're off-gassing, there's an off-gas of this very unstable metal. And so then we wonder why we may experience some of these headaches. And then you have attack phase, which is, when that headache, that migraine is actually now happening. And like I was saying, pain side of your head, that throbbing, that pulsing, that sensitivity to light, sound. I know that if I have a migraine, I literally just have to lay down. I have actually blackout lights in my room, in our bedroom. So if I ever get a migraine, which they almost never happen now, but if they do, then I literally put my blackout lights, I call them bedtime sunglasses, but like that thing that you put over your eyes to sleep if you're in the plane or whatever. And then, I'm happy. Please don't talk to me. Don't touch me. I'm going to bed. And that sometimes does it. I do get nauseous sometimes, but I know some of my clients experience that too. And then you have that post-drum phase, which is after your headache is gone, your migraine is gone, you're going to feel tired. There was just a lot of energy that was spent from your body trying to deal with that inflammation with whatever exposure, chemical, mold, and we'll get into it a little bit later. And then your body is just going to be totally spent, very, very tired. And that's why all they want to do is go to sleep if they have a headache or a migraine. So through clinical experience, some of the most common root causes I found is harmful chemicals, toxic mold, Lyme disease, and its co-infections, parasites, hormonal changes, and mineral deficiency. And we'll get into each one. So harmful chemicals, and I think most of our listeners right now are aware of the very detrimental effects that harmful chemicals have in our body. You are exposed to them no matter where you go. You can't live in a bubble, right? The best thing you can do is support and have good lifestyles and eating organic and taking your binders, because all that stuff is going to be supporting your body through the exposure of chemicals. And one of the chemicals that affects me the most is actually bleach. And unfortunately, in Mexico, we are bleach lovers for some reason. We just love to clean with bleach. And that's how we are just trained or educated. But I'm very sensitive to bleach. And growing up in a household that unfortunately used a lot of bleach, all that stuff, chemicals are going to be stored in your system. Yeah. They're going to be stored in your fat cells. And then you wonder why you may have trouble losing weight or why you have headaches and migraines, because all these chemicals are going to be stored in your system. through food. We do our best eating organically, but unfortunately, even eating organically, you have to still support your body with detoxification, because you can't truly guarantee that your food is 100% glyphosate free unless you grow it yourself. And let's face it, how many of us truly do that?
Right.
So being exposed to these harmful chemicals can be a huge trigger. In a quick story, I was doing a seminar in Orlando couple months ago, and in the middle of the night, I woke up with this like intense, like throbbing headache, and I'm like, what in the world? And because being mold sensitive, I now travel with an air purifier and my essential oils and my essential oil diffuser. And it's a little too much sometimes when I'm packing, but I've learned to minimize and mitigate my exposure to some of these chemicals. But every hotel is different and they have different practices. And waking up that night, I had no idea what was going on. And I just reeked of bleach. My bedding was completely bleached, and it was so awful. So I got up, I took my Inflamma Control, IFC, which has been a lifesaver for me as far as experiencing headaches. I have no idea how many of them were in my hand. I just, downed it, and it totally helped mitigate some of that inflammation that I was experiencing. And then the next morning, I'm like, another practitioner, because it was a muscle testing seminar, could you please test me and tell me how many binders I need? And luckily enough, now I know to travel with my Virat Cam, because it's been, again, a lifesaver when traveling and being exposed to different chemicals that unfortunately I have no control over, that definitely trigger my headaches and migraines. And I think this is where I was talking about, where so what happens is that the chemicals cause they cause inflammation, right? So when we're exposed to these harmful elements, the body's defense mechanisms triggers an inflammatory response, and that's what those membranes are experiencing, that inflammation. And I think it's very important to just be aware of that. So if you're traveling, if you're home, to minimize some of your exposure to those chemicals that you do have control over, switching over to things that are going to be, like white vinegar or thieves oil, right? Which is very good for cleaning. And I mean, you can go into the environmental working group and download the healthy living app and scan your products and see where they're rated to determine, are you contributing to the triggers within your household, and start there, which that's what I did. Started to get rid of my candles and things that, my shampoos and stuff like that, where I was getting these chemicals that was definitely impacting the way my body was reacting. And truly listening to what your body, if your body is becoming having an inflammatory response, then listen to it, and doing a little bit of investigatory work can definitely help with some of the mitigation from these harmful chemicals. Another big thing for me was toxic mold. Like I mentioned earlier, I had no idea that I was sensitive to mold, and that I was being impacted by mold in any way. And when I went to a conference, Cellcore, Dr. Jessica Pietro, she was giving a lecture about hormones, and I was like, oh, that's me. So as soon as I came home, I talked to my practitioner, and we started a very intense mold protocol. And I don't recommend that you do a very intense protocol right away. Obviously, follow your practitioner's recommendations, but I'm a little crazy like that, where I just like, just give it to me. And I had, on top of my headaches, I had a body odor that I had it for like maybe 10, 15 years. And I was like so self-conscious of it. And I would literally in the middle of work, go home and take a shower. I would try every deodorant, you name it. But as soon as I did a mold protocol, my headaches that's what did it for me. My headaches pretty much and migraines were non-existent. And one day I get out of the shower and I'm like, oh my God, I don't stink anymore. So it was very eye-opening. And so people get tired of me talking about mold, but I think it's such an important topic. But mold exposure definitely triggers your headaches and can trigger your migraines. mold is very inflammatory, and you may have heard from other practitioners how it affects your immune response, how it leaves you susceptible to Lyme, parasites, which are other triggers too, and root causes for inflammation, and thus, having the headaches and the migraines. So being mindful of mold in your house. If you're working through a mold protocol, like you're getting there, might be a little, sometimes it's slow for some of us, but you're working on that root cause, and definitely understanding more how mold impacts your system. But for me, it was definitely a big trigger. Learning how to travel, be mold free and stuff like that is going to be very, very helpful. Mold gets into your system, right? You breathe it, you could eat it. Mycotoxins are super, super tiny. They can go through your skin. And so it's something definitely worth looking into as far as a potential root cause for migraines and headaches. And also from mold, we also have the MVOCs, which you might have heard of, which is the microbial volatile organic compound. So that's those gases that are emitted by mold, toxic mold, that we also are being exposed to. And obviously mold spores and spores breaking into fragments. So all that definitely can cause a lot of neuroinflammation. Different types of mycotoxins are gonna have affinity for different parts of the body. So doing some research about that and talking to your practitioner about that will be important, so that you know what exact path as far as mold toxicity detox you may have to do. Another thing that I've also worked with a lot of clients who experience or who have had Lyme or any of the co-infections, or who are currently suffering from Lyme disease or their co-infections. And I see this a lot with kids. Kids normally don't get headaches. And if I have a kid that says, it's been, my mom or dad may say they've been complaining a little bit more of headaches, then my first thought, it's Lyme or or the co-infections. It's a lot of neuroinflammation that occurs with the bacteria, right? With the parasites. And when there's that neuroinflammation, you're going to have a lot going on with headaches and migraines. And some people may experience Lyme symptoms, like, your common ones, like your aches and pains here and there, your soreness, that lameness. But I definitely have seen through muscle testing how babesia is definitely very prominent with clients who experience headaches. So I'm fortunate enough to be able to muscle test. I have my test kits and I just go right to it to be able to offer the correct support for clients who may be experiencing some of this. And so it's not uncommon for people who have Lyme, to be experiencing some headaches and migraines. And then parasites, I think a lot in this group, a lot of people are either obsessed or very familiar with parasites, and they have asked questions or shared their pictures on the group. I know I'm one of those. I have my own pictures and stuff, and of stuff that my body is eliminating. So it's there's a lot of inflammation too, right? And I think that the common theme, if you've been listening, is that chronic inflammation. All these different things are just really definitely creating a lot of chronic inflammation. And when the body is put in a situation of chronic inflammation, it doesn't know what to do. It's really slowed down. So I mentioned IFC earlier, and if it's part of your medicine cabinet, awesome. If it's not, it's so good to just have it handy, because it's so good for headaches, especially for me. It's been a lifesaver, like I said, and some of my clients. And so I definitely recommend that product, and Chem, especially, as a lot of that I use with my clients with headaches, because they're all muscle tests for other chemicals, right, which we talked about. And specifically, the toxoplasma infection may contribute to that neurogenic inflammation, which then can trigger the migraines. And you have all your para products, right? So if you're working with a practitioner, great, they're guiding you along with what you need to do as far as your journey. And sometimes it'll come together, right? There isn't a specific thing like, oh, it was just mold, or it was just Lyme or parasites. It's a layer, right? You're working on each layer separately. And sometimes the body says, hey, you got to work on 2 layers at once. But it's getting through all of that will start reducing some of that neuroinflammation that it is happening, being triggered by some of these elements that we just talked about. A big one too, interestingly enough, is the hormonal changes. And I see this mainly with women, not so much with men, but with women, we're going through our cycle. The more I work with women, especially young women, we are not educated about hormones. You know, we go to our doctors or a professional, and hormone changes are just part of life, right? But no one is telling us what those hormones are. So women don't even know how to track, they don't track their cycle, they don't track ovulation. And if you don't know how your hormones work, then you don't know exactly how to support them and how to help them. So it's very important with women, especially if you're doing intermittent fasting or if you are experiencing any kind of blood sugar, dysregulation, to really understand if you have fertility issues, to really understand how hormones work, your cycle, and track it. Most phones now have a free app that you can track your cycle, and you can track your migraines, right? Like you can track your headaches, and you can put a note there, this cycle, and then it starts identifying different changes so that you can then be a little more pinpointing more as to what might be creating some of those headaches or migraines. And ideally, you're working with a practitioner that is going to be running a full blood panel to understand what may be happening with the thyroid, or a Dutch test, right? To really understand what's going on with some of those hormonal changes, especially as we go through our life. And I was listening to a podcast, I can't remember the exact name of it, but this they were talking about how women, we cycle, and our cycles or our phases last about 10 years. And you think of it, when you're 10, when you're 20, 30, 40, 50. So it's important to know what some of those phases, what that means for you, being a woman. But I know definitely some of my clients, depending on their cycle, if they're before they're about to cycle, they have more migraines and more headaches. And then I know potentially they're probably a little lacking on that progesterone. It's very cliche now that it's like, oh, she's about to have her cycle, or yourself, right? Oh, I'm so cranky, I'm about to have my cycle. But in fact, you should be at your best before that week of your cycle is when you should feel, at your best. And if that's not, then it's potentially a lack of progesterone. So eating things to build that progesterone level can definitely help with some of this hormonal migraines or headaches. And that's your cruciferous vegetables. And what is cruciferous vegetables really doing? It's helping declog the liver, right? Your liver is so important with hormonal function. It does so much for us. And actually, I thank my liver every day because it regenerates, right? It's the only organ that does, and that makes me happy, and I appreciate it a little bit more. But understanding how your cycle works, tracking it. And when I work with female clients, I ask them, how's your cycle? Well, it's normal. Well, what is normal? You can't really define what normal is. Everybody is different. There isn't a set standard. So really understanding how your cycle works, how your hormones work is going to be very important, and as far as not experiencing some of these migraines and headaches during or before your cycle.
I love that you thank your liver. I love that. We should all thank our livers. That's what we should do.
Yeah, I do. And if you think of it, it's truly the only organ that does that. And sometimes, like, thank you so much for creating cholesterol for me, for storing, for helping me with my hormones and stuff like that. So don't use it, but don't abuse it, right?
Yeah.
So this is really cool. I really like this one. It's mineral deficiency. So mineral deficiency is something that most of us experience. Stress depletes your minerals. Refined carbohydrates and refined sugars depletes your minerals. Sometimes hormonal cycles deplete your minerals. If you are dealing with parasites, they are depleting your body of minerals. They're robbing, the parasites are robbing your nutrients. And I think we live in a society where we're afraid of salt. We just been like sodium or, like iodized and bleached salt. And in Mexico, there's no table salt on the tables because it's a national campaign against or to balance sodium, right? To not for people to not overdo it on the salt because of the sodium. But what if they had salt that is real salt, salt with color, Celtic salt or pink Himalayan salt? And I love real salt from Redmond Company. I never used to be a salt person. I was like, no, the blender, the better. And my mom used to not like that because, she would put salt in everything. And I was like, I would not eat if it was too salty. But I became to understand that it was the wrong kind of salt. And once I introduced the correct kind of salt, also helped my mineral balance and my headaches and my migraines. So everything sort of just kind of came all at once for me as far as because working with a practitioner. But those minerals are so deficient. And, we're meant to be getting our minerals from our vegetables, but then you have so many different lifestyles. I don't call them diets anymore because they're lifestyles. Either a carnivore, right? Or a vegan or vegetarian or paleo or whatever you are practicing. There's just not enough salt in them. You're not then getting all your minerals. So when clients are experiencing headaches and migraines, I always ask them, what's your salt intake? First of all, what kind of salt are you using? And second, what's your salt intake? And I actually muscle test people on how much salt they should be taking a day because everybody is different. No one size is going to fit all.
Right.
And I have a client who she has to take up to 1/4 of a teaspoon a day of salt. Now she doesn't take it all at once, she takes it throughout the day in food. And I'm a big fan of salt shots. And it's basically where you put a little salt on your hand, you lick it and you chase it with some water. And at the office, we often joke, it's time for a salt shot. So we're all having our salt and just, downing it like it was a tequila shot. But we also put salt in our water. So my colleague, at the beginning of the day, that's her practice. She has her water, her distilled water, and then she's putting her salt. And then she's drinking that throughout the day. And she does that at least twice a day because it does give you your minerals are going to give you adrenals, that that you need. You have that 3 p.m. slump. You don't go to coffee, you go to salt. And it's been a game changer for some of my clients as far as dealing with headaches and migraines. If you're doing Celtic salt, sometimes, or pink Himalayan salt, or even the real salt, if they come in big chunks, you can put it underneath your tongue, let it melt. I know it's not fun, but it can definitely right away for some people help with that inflammation that it is happening from the lack of minerals in our diet. And and it's stress. Who's not stressed? And our minerals, like I said, they get depleted from stress levels. So I will definitely recommend adding some real salt that has not been bleached, that it is not white, that has not been processed. And obviously taking your CT minerals if you're not on that already, because it has all this fulvic and humic acids, and it has real quality of minerals in addition to the 2 new magnesiums on the new formulation that it is specifically for brain function, right? So headaches, migraines, as well as muscles. So one of my favorites as well. So we talked a little bit about potential root causes, but also wanted to talk about different things that you could do to mitigate some of that, right? Because as you're working on root causes, sometimes, like I said, for some people, it might be a slow process. But in the meantime, what do you do, right? You have a headache, you have a migraine, what could you do? So hydration is going to be very important, specifically throughout the day. You are meant to be drinking about your half your weight in size, so if you're 100 pounds, which you might not be, but just for math, unfortunately, math is not my forte, but then you're going to be drinking, right, your 50 ounces of water throughout the day. just keep an eye on that. If your urine is going to be clear as you are going to the bathroom, because you're going to be drinking a lot of water, depending on your weight, you don't want that urine to be clear. Then you know you're depleting yourself of minerals. Then you back up. You know, you don't use then as much water, or you're eating, or you're adding electrolytes or more salt to get that mineral intake back into your diet. But I definitely like herbal teas like chamomile and peppermint, which can also help soothe headaches. And I actually travel with peppermint oil. Now, every bag that I have in my car, anywhere where I go, I have actually left peppermint oil at, friends' houses or family members, because you never know who's going to come in with their chemicals, perfumes, or who's going to be using bleach, or where you're going to go, what you're going to be exposed to. And I just have my peppermint oil ready, and that helps me mitigate any potential headaches, especially going to stores, all those off-gassing chemicals from new clothes and stuff like that. So before I go into the store, I just have a little peppermint oil on me. I smell it a little bit, and that just helps me mitigate some of that exposure to those chemicals. So it may work for you. And that's where the peppermint oil and the lavender oil, essential oils, and sometimes they have roll-ons. I think Young Living has roll-ons where you can put on your temples. I definitely have had clients do that. And just be safe when using essential oils, right? I mean, as far as some people might be sensitive as far as putting them directly on their skin, you may have to dilute them. So just be safe as far as using the essential oils. Yoga, women definitely do better with low impact, exercise, where you may like cardio, and that's great. If you are going to be doing cardio, do it in the morning if possible. But if you're going to be practicing yoga, sometimes yoga in the morning, yoga in the evening is very soothing for the body, good stretching, using muscles that maybe you don't know you have. And it's really good. And it's been instrumental for me as well. I'm not a gym person. I've tried to, and I discovered that I'm really not a gym person. I'm more of a, yoga person. So I try to do some of that every week, because it's definitely helped with the tension of headaches, and improve circulation as well. And it's very de-stressing, right? If you're doing yoga, is very good for your adrenals and stuff like that, because it's very self-paced as well. Acupuncture. I had a lot of people have great success with acupuncture, because the Chinese medicine, how spot on it is with all those different meridians. And I'm afraid of needles, so I don't enjoy it. I don't know if I'm a little more stressed doing it, because I'm just afraid of needles, but I've definitely been a practice of some of my clients that has helped a lot. And acupuncturists, they know so much, they know what points to really check. And I have a client who her headaches pretty much went away with the work that we were doing, in addition to some of these other modalities. And yeah, she could not get up in the morning, and she had to call in sick to work and stuff like that. So having added some of these extra modalities definitely pays off. And well, you heard me talked about diet changes, and I was one very reluctant, growing up in Mexico, very corn based, and it was very hard for me to give up corn. And I only really eat a lot of corn when I'm in Mexico. When I'm in the US, I limit my corn intake. But our food is very sprayed with glyphosate and very, other harmful chemicals. So definitely avoiding some of that. And that's what did it for me too. And it helped me with my joints as well. I was like, I'm too young to be arthritic or to have all this joints and pains. And as soon as I made diet changes, that almost all it also went away. Like I no longer have like joint pain and stuff like that. So diet, don't underestimate that. And sleep, gosh, I cannot stress the importance of sleep. So you may have heard of the glymphatic system that is very much connected to our lymphatic system, which is your brain's lymphatic system per se. And that only is activated at night. So if you don't sleep, right, then you're not going to be draining all the stuff that your brain is trying to clear out. And so shooting for 7 to 9 hours of sleep is ideal. I know, right? Sleep, what is that? For some people, it might be like, I'm happy if I get 5 hours or 6 hours.
Yeah.
But practicing good sleep hygiene, it's important. But if you think of it, like, what is the root cause of that lack of sleep? You know, it could be mold toxicity, it could be parasites, it could be that chemical exposure. So working on that root cause is what it's done it for me and for so many of my clients. But sleeping is going to be so important to reduce inflammation. My brother is diabetic type 1, and I know when I see him, when he doesn't look good, I know the first thing I ask, hey, how is your sleep? And it's not been great. And that's when he looks at his worst, when he's not sleeping well. So it's become very evident that sleep is just it's one of the most important things that we can do for ourselves, is that sleep hygiene. Now, looking at screens before you go into bed. And if you are wearing some of your, the glasses that are going to be mitigating some of those, turning your Wi-Fi off at night if you can, and not sleeping right next to your phone if it's charging. Anything that will contribute to good sleep is going to be very important as well. And it will go a long way with anything that you might be working on. Some of the supplements that I use with clients or food is magnesium. So we talked about a little bit about sources of magnesium from city minerals, from salt, but definitely, your food. I know that has definitely been key for me too, as far as headaches. If I'm in the moment right then and there and I have a headache, if IFC for some reason has not touched it, then I go and grab some more CT minerals, and that definitely helps with mitigation of that. And then your vitamin B2. So high doses of vitamin B2 can prevent migraines. But eating liver, you may not be like, hey, yay, I'm going to be eating some liver right now. But I think we've totally become so disassociated with eating liver, which is such an important nutrient. You get so many great things out of liver. And if you're not going to eat it, supplement it. Then you get all your B vitamins. And so I don't eat liver, but I do supplement it. And it's made also a big difference for me. CoQ10, right? So CoQ10, it's you may know it best for heart. And here's heart again, supporting heart function for decreasing the neuroinflammation. And your omega-3 fatty acids. And we live in a society that unfortunately is also very omega-6. There's no right balance of omega-3s and omega-6s. So all your seed oils, like I was mentioning earlier, and I'm a fan of almonds, but unfortunately they're very inflammatory for some people. They're very high in omega-6s. So in moderation, I would say. I had a client who was experiencing a lot of migraines, and I'm like, at this point, I have no idea. And then we just started like, okay, let's go back to basics. What are you eating? And she has switched all her products from standard American diet to a paleo diet that was very heavy on almond flour. And I was like, would you like to do an experiment? And she's like, sure. She was desperate. All she wanted to do is not have any headaches. And I'm like, and migraines, will you be willing to let go of your almonds for a while? And she was like, okay. And I'm like, just humor me. I could be on the right track or I could be not, but let's just do it. And within maybe 2 to 3 weeks, her headaches just started to diminish. And she was like, oh my gosh. So you're doing something that you think it's right, which is correct, but not everybody reacts differently to food, even if it's a healthy food. And your food, when we eat something, stays in your body for 2 to 3 days. That's how long it may take your body to clear out. So if you're eating the same thing every day, for convenience or because that's how you are, then you're not giving your body a chance to actually get rid of that, to detox, and it becomes sensitive to that. So rotating your proteins, rotating your food is also a good practice, so your body doesn't become sensitive to some of the foods that you might be eating, even if they are good foods. I'm a fan of Feverfew and Butterbar because they're very cool herbs that help with migraine relief. For some people, it may work right away. And so sometimes as a tea, warm tea. If you don't mind the bitterness of things, you may just have to, you know, make sure it's organic. Or sometimes in supplementation, depending on, you know, what company you may just look at it, you know, like if it has some of those herbs, sometimes companies sell those specific herbs for that. But that's been also good for me. And it could also be good for cramps if you experience an what's the menstrual cramps, then those two herbs can be very helpful. And another one that just came to mind as far as is oh gosh, I'm so sorry. It's the help herb salagesic, sorry. So that's what also has been, because that is what companies, that's the herb that is being mimicked to create aspirin. So salagesic also, it's good for headaches and migraines. Anyway, gosh, I'm so sorry. I hope I did not talk too fast.
No, that was great. That was fantastic. That's so good. You gave us so much good information.
Good.
All
Yeah,
right.
well, thank you so much for anyone who attended. And yeah, I'm sure there's probably going to be some questions and I'll be more than happy to answer. And yeah, whatever it is, just find your cause. If you're working with a practitioner, great. If not, find one.
Absolutely. Okay, we do have a couple questions. Shelly is asking, and you kind of touched on this, but I think she's got a little bit of a different take on it. So curious if you have any experience with headaches and hormones. I don't typically have headaches. I am 3 years postmenopausal, and I have moments that I get headaches from tension in my neck and shoulders, and it always seems directly associated with hormone shift. Any advice? I've never had any muscle testing.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, postmenopausal women, yes, your estrogen and your progesterone levels, you know, have tanked, right? And some people might be doing hormone replace therapy, some people might be not, and some people might just toughen it out and, you know, getting through it. But I often find that eating for your cycle, and Dr. Mindy Pels, who for me has been revolutionary in educating women about their cycle. She has a book, it's called The Menopause Reset, which I have come to love, and I recommend it to a lot of my clients who, even before menopause, you know, because I often feel the book has the wrong title. I'm like, you know, women who are not going through menopause may not pick up that book. But she offers some great information, some great biohacks. But what I would recommend is mineral intake, because that often may trigger, not every, hormones are a very interesting topic, right? That's why sometimes often people don't really, professionals may not want to talk about hormones because it's just part of the process, you know, they change every day. Why would we test them? But definitely minerals and eating for your cycle. Even though you're not cycling anymore, hormones are still shifting, right? And every woman is created differently. And you do not have to go through menopause the way that unfortunately some or most women go through. So I would recommend grabbing her book. If you're an audiobook person, great. Dr. Mindy is the one who narrates the book. If you love to just have your hardcover book, then just do that. I have both because I like to go back and reference. But I would definitely recommend the Estra. If you're not taking Estra, which is a protocol, a supplement from Cellcore, just to help balance hormones, and getting some blood work, you know, getting understanding what might be going on with the thyroid, or doing a liver cleanse, you know, that can definitely help, because what's going on with the liver, you know, so much happens with the liver. And I know that something that I try to do with every woman that comes to my practice that might be going through menopause or perimenopause, it's a liver cleanse. Because once you declog that liver, then your liver is going to be like, oh, okay, great, I can metabolize this and I can be a lot happier. So doing a liver cleanse will be very helpful as well.
All right. People are wondering what kind of travel air purifier that you use.
Yeah, that's a cool gadget. I've been, gosh, let me see if I can find it really quick. I got it on Amazon, and it's an iron one, because while I am a fan of ozone, as far as dealing with mold, sometimes it can be an antagonizer, and then you don't want to be antagonizing mold. Mold is a very pesky element. So if I don't have to anger it, I do not. But let me just see if I can find it. And it was literally not very expensive. And when I traveling to different, I've been traveling a lot this last year. And I've been living in hotels every month. So it was like, okay, that's it. I gotta get some of my traveling stuff together. But let me see. Okay, yes, I found it here. It is the Clarifion. So that's CLARIFIONDSTX. And I can send the information later to Dorothy in an email, and maybe we can post it on the Facebook group if possible. But it's an ion cleanse purifier. So it emits ions. It has different settings, and is very, I have not reacted to it, because when I went to a conference, I brought a travel ozone purifier. I think the mold in the room did not like that. And I had the worst sinus infection afterwards. And I was like, oh my gosh, I angered the mold god. So I then switched purifiers, and I do not react to it. It has different settings. It's very easy to travel with. Airplane and everything, TSA had no issue with it. So that's the one I've been using. I've been having good success with.
Sounds good. All right, one more question here. And again, this one has to do with hormones. My whole life, I have gotten horrible hormonal headaches right before and or during my period. The pain is usually right at the base of my skull. And if I touch those bones there or push into the soft spot, it's unbearable pain. Mm-hmm. The pain gets so bad that my mouth waters like crazy, and it radiates up to my eyes with stabbing pain at my eyebrows and down my neck, making my shoulders and neck ache too. Occasionally I get this around ovulation too. Do you have any idea what this could mean and what to do?
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that's not fun at all.
My goodness.
Yeah, so it's and it's gonna sound like a broken record, but honestly, eating for your cycle, it's taught me so much. And personally, having dealt with really heavy cycles, irregular, like not fun, debilitating, having switched giving my body what it needed when it needed it, it's made a huge difference as far as nutrients. But I would say also that estro, it's been really instrumental as far as hormonal balance for myself and my clients. And I would say also minerals. We're so depleted in minerals, yes, especially if we're living in a fast, society. And, not that men don't rush to do things, right? Because they do, but women, we are just more go, 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 go. And that's why there's more women who experience mitochondria fatigue, right? Or adrenal fatigue. And so I would say definitely learning how to eat for your cycle can be definitely very instrumental. And again, that's Dr. Mindy Pels, who has amazing information on how to do that.
Yeah. And just to add to what Fabiola is saying, you guys, if you're my age, you've been taught to not eat any salt. And here, this is what cures it, right? We've also been taught to not eat anything with cholesterol. You guys, we cannot produce hormones if we don't eat cholesterol. True. It is for us. We need the building blocks. Everything we've been taught before, just forget about it and relearn.
Yeah, it's
true. Eat your eggs, eat your protein, get the salt, get the minerals.
Yeah, for some people, eating first thing in the morning protein is very important for that adrenal function. And you may have to do that first before you start doing some intermittent fasting, right? Because intermittent fasting, when done right, can do a lot for you. But I know I done it wrong, and I totally missed off my hormones. And now I wish I could go back and do it differently. And but you're right, cholesterol, right? Without cholesterol, you cannot do anything. If you look at a hormone chart, it's literally the first thing. Cholesterol is a hormone. And back in the 70s, I think the normal range for cholesterol for women was like 250 or something like that. And right now you get above 200, and it's like alarm, alarm, alarm.
Right. And they want to put you on a statin.
Yeah. So definitely checking cholesterol levels. And And if cholesterol is high, it's like it's an indication of inflammation. Like you wouldn't blame,
Exactly.
yeah, you wouldn't blame the fireman for showing up to your house for putting out the fire, right? You know,
Yeah.
go, shoo. You would, we shouldn't do the same thing
It's
to
there
cholesterol.
to repair.
Right. Yeah,
All right,
totally.
let's go to the giveaway. All right, this week's winners of the $175 Cellcore coupon code are Mary DeFalco, Valerie Homan, and Holly Weldeman. Congratulations to you
Yay.
three. Make sure you put support at cellcore.com into your address book. And just a friendly reminder, you only have 30 days to use that. Check your spam folder because it always goes to spam. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you join our Facebook group, the Detox Heroes. This recording will go in the guide section and you can watch it again and just glean more little nuggets of information. Thank you so much, Fabiola. That was amazing.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so honored and I'm so happy to have been here. Hopefully, our listeners got information, and you can reach me at, Fabiola at nutritionalwellnesscenter.com or Fabiola at Root Cause Solutions for You. Like Dorothy mentioned, I have my Instagram. I'm on TikTok. Oh, sorry, TikTok. I call it TikTok, but
Lots of people do. That's fine.
I'm also, I have my podcast where we talk about an interview just practitioners and who are thinking outside the box. So please feel free to reach out. I work with clients not only in person but virtually. I am also trained on quantum nutrition testing, so I can help you from anywhere you are. So please feel free to reach out.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks everyone for coming, and we will see you all next week.
Awesome.
Bye for now, everyone.
Bye.